Hey guys, Non-Zero here, coach of the Chicago Blacephalon, bringing you my UAPB Season 2 draft analysis. Honestly, this is going to be pretty short, so I'm just going to jump into it. It was a pretty standard draft in terms of structure, just a tiered draft with megas and points and the whole 9 yards. So let's just go ahead and see what I picked up here. And I'm just going to sort of do this by the cores that I drafted. The first being the MLBA core. So these are 3 of the most consistent mons that I have on my MLBA team right now. And in my opinion, maybe 3 of the most consistent mons in the league format in general. We see here Jirachi, which obviously is just really versatile, able to do a lot of things and do them really well. It can be a reliable rocker, can be a bulky wish pass user, or it can actually set up and 6-0 your opponent, which it's been able to do twice past couple of weeks for me in the MLBA. So I'm really in love with this mon and hope that I can put in some work this season. Terrakion's similar. It can't do as many things, but the things it does really well. And that's 2 things, which is sit up and sweep or clean, and also wall break with SD and strong rock and fighting stabs. Finally, we have here Silvally. And the reason I like Silvally is because if you have any weakness, if there's any mon on your opponent's team that the rest of your draft struggles against, you can tailor Silvally's set to deal with that mon. So in that sense, it's just sort of maybe the best glue mon in the draft league format. And it's not only a bulky utility parting shot user. I mean, it does that really well, but can also be a defogger, can also be a setup mon with workup or sword stance. And all of those can be viable at different times. So that's going to be these 3 mons, pretty self-explanatory. Let's just go ahead and see what's next, and that's going to be Mega Manectric, Tangrowth, and Snorlax. So a lot of bulk here, and also some speed, obviously, in Mega Manectric. Now, Mega Manectric's the mega I went for, mostly because I wanted to try it out. I've never drafted this one before in the format, and I think it has a lot of viability, especially given what the bans are for this league. Outspeeds more or less everything that doesn't carry a scarf, and hits really hard in general. With Volt Switch obviously being very cool for this team. And other than that, we just have a lot of bulk here with Tangrowth and Snorlax. Snorlax being a win condition on its own is really cool, and Tangrowth just being maybe the best pivot in the format, potentially the second best after Toxapex, but one of the most annoying mons to deal with because of Regenerator, because of its decent offenses. So it's not just a passive wall, it actually can hit pretty hard back with coverage like Knockoff, Earthquake, some kind of hidden power, Giga Drain or Leaf Storm. And it can also just sort of generate momentum with Leech Seed, Sleep Powder, that sort of thing. And Snorlax obviously able to set up and curse, or able to just be a special wall that hits pretty hard in its own right. And that's going to be these 3 mons. Moving on, you might have noticed that I have a ground weakness at this point a little bit, and that's why I drafted a bunch of birds. In particular, I went for Gligar, Swallow, and Talonflame. You see here in Talonflame and Swallow, just a lot of power. I figure with parting shots and slow U-turns, or just Volt Switches in general, hopefully I'll be able to get these mons in relatively safely. Now, something that I'm not that happy with about this draft is that I don't have the best Stealth Rock control. I do have Defogger obviously in Silvally and also in Gligar, but I don't have any Rapid Spinner. And okay, Swallow can also defog, but it's not the best at it. And if I'm going to use these birds, I'm probably going to want to make sure that I can keep hazards off the field. But yeah, in general, I went for Talonflame over Typhlosion at the last moment because I like the flying priority. Even though Gale Wings is nerfed, if I'm able to keep hazards off the field, this thing can still serve as sort of an emergency check against setup sweepers, or just as a hard, powerful hitter in its own right. Also having access to some utility in Will-O-Wisp, Roost, that sort of thing. That's going to be these mons. Swallow is obviously very obvious what it does. Just clicks specs Boom Burst or specs, Heat Wave in some scenarios. Or if you want to run a physical set, throw on a Flame Orb, use Facade. Just able to hit really hard. A Glass Cannon, for sure. And that'll bring us to our last two picks, which are a Spider and a Rock, Araquanid, and Carbink. So, Carbink was a tough choice. Carbink was my last pick. At this point, there were a lot of options that were kind of tempting. For example, Illumise and Illumise and Volbeat, as well as Liepard, just for the prankster utility. I ended up going with Carbink though, because I really wanted a reliable Trick Room setter. I do have access to Araquanid and Snorlax on this team, so Trick Room can be a viable mode. And the cool thing about Carbink is it has access to Explosion, so it's able to remove itself from the field reliably after it sets up Trick Room, which is something that a lot of Trick Room setters struggle with. But yeah, these are going to be my last two picks, with Araquanid not only setting up webs, which honestly doesn't do that much for us, aside from maybe help Swellow and Terrakion a bit. It can also just be a hard hitter. It can also set up with Stockpile and Rest. You can run a trap set with Infestation and Soak, Toxic, that sort of thing. So a lot of things that Araquanid can do. It was also just sort of a good defensive mon to round out my defensive core. Needed something else to deal with ground mons, and this does it pretty well. And so that's going to be the whole squad. I kind of like how it looks. I'm hoping that I can see Jirachi put in a lot of work again, and I'm also hoping to see Araquanid shine some. One of my last picks, but I think one of the cooler ones, and one of the better value picks on this draft. But that's going to be a very quick draft analysis from your boy Non-Zero, coach of the Chicago Blacephalon. See you guys next time. Peace.